Dear learners, I once again welcome you to this MOOC course on Population and Society. Today we shall discuss the Module 7 of this course titled Measure Population Surveys as Sources of Population Data. In the previous module, we have discussed about two very important sources of population data, that is population census and registration method. The major objective of this module is to introduce you all with the various types of surveys like National Sample Survey (NSO), Demographic and Health Surveys (DHS), National Family Health Survey (NFHS), Annual Health Survey (AHS), Indian Human Development Survey (IHDS), National Register of Citizens (NRC), Multiple Indicator Cluster Survey (MICS), and private surveys like Center for Monitoring Indian Economy (CMIE), along with other international sources. Let us begin the discussion with surveys. A survey is a technique for acquiring data from a sample of people by asking pertinent questions with the goal of comprehending populations as a whole. Everyone involved in the information economy, from corporations to the media to the government and academia, relies on surveys as a vital source of information and insights. There are numerous sorts of surveys. Several examples include National Sample Survey, National Family Health Survey, Annual Health Surveys, Economic Surveys, etc. National Sample Survey is one of the most important surveys of the country. The National Sample Survey Organization (NSSO), which was founded in 1950, is the agency in charge of the NSS. This organization gathers data on socio-economic issues affecting India and its people. In 1970, the NSSO was placed under the direction of Governing Council. A non-official chairman, officers from the central and state governments, the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, and members chosen from academics make up the NSSO. The Director General and Chief Executive Officer are the organization's leader. Along with these surveys, the NSSO also conducts surveys on business, village infrastructure, households, land, and livestock holdings, as well as organized surveys, unorganized manufacturing, social consumption, on health and education, urban frame surveys, consumer expenditure, employment and unemployment over a 10 period. To immediately gather the data utilizing tablets and to reduce paper, NSSO has developed computer-assisted personal interviewing software. Reports from the NSSO are published in the journal Survexna and on the NSSO website. The scope of NSS are as follows. It is the largest sample survey in the country. It lays down and maintains the norms and standards. It decides the scope of various surveys. It also conducts surveys, collects data, processes data, and disseminates results and reports. Types of surveys under NSS. The different types of surveys that is carried under NSS are: number 1, household surveys. It tells us about population, birth, death, migration, fertility, family planning, morbidity, disability, employment and unemployment, agriculture and ritual labor, household consumer expenditure, debt and investment, savings, constructions, capital formation, housing condition, and utilization of public services in health, education and other sector, etc. Number 2, land holding survey. It tells us about land holding, land utilization, livestock number, product and livestock enterprises. Number 3, establishment surveys. These surveys on medium and small industries, establishment and own account enterprise not covered by the annual survey of industries, surveys on the other non-agricultural enterprises in the unorganized sector, and collection of rural retail prices from markets and shops in rural areas belong to the third category. Number 4, village surveys. It tells us various types of information on the availability of infrastructure facility in Indian villages. Duration of National Sample Survey. It is repeated in cycles, which is basically of two types. First, 10 year. This cycle captures population, births, deaths, disability, morbidity, fertility, maternity and childcare, and family planning, land holdings and livestock enterprises, debt, investment and capital formation. Number 2, 5 year. This cycle captures employment, unemployment, and consumer expenditure, unorganized enterprises in non-agricultural sectors, unorganized manufacturing, unorganized services, social consumption, health and education. Number 3. 1 year. Considering the importance of availability of labor force data at more frequent time intervals, National Sample Survey Office launched Periodic Labor Force Survey (PLFS) in April 2017. The objective of PLFS is primarily twofold. Number 1, to estimate the key employment and unemployment indicators, that is, work population ratio, labor force participation rate, unemployment rate in the short time interval of 3 months for the urban areas only in current weekly status. Number 2, to estimate employment and unemployment indicators in both usual status and CWS in both rural and urban areas annually. The key findings of PLFS for 2022-23 are that in rural areas, labor force participation rate increased from 50.7% in 2017 to 18 to 60.8% in 2022-23, while for urban areas it increased from 47.6% to 50.4%. LFPR for male in India increased from 75.8% in 2017-18 to 78.5% in 2022-23, and corresponding increase in LFPR for female was from 23.3% to 37.0%. Now let us discuss Demographic and Health Surveys (DHS). The Demographic and Health Surveys (DHS) are household surveys that are nationally representative and yield data for a variety of population, health and nutrition related monitoring and impact evaluation variables. Types of DHS. Number 1. Standard DHS surveys. Approximately every 5 years, standard DHS surveys are carried out with sample sizes of 5,000 to 30,000 homes, allowing for long-term comparisons. Number 2. Interim DHS surveys. The primary goal of interim DHS surveys is to gather data on critical performance monitoring indicators. However, some impact evaluation measures such as mortality rates may not have been included. These surveys feature shorter questionnaires than DHS surveys and are conducted in between DHS surveys rounds. These surveys typically have smaller samples than DHS surveys, despite being nationally representative. Topics covered in DHS survey. It deals with the issues like anemia, child health, domestic violence, education, family planning, female genital cutting, fertility and fertility preferences, HIV knowledge, household and respondent characteristics, infant and child mortality rate, malaria, maternal health and maternal mortality, etc. Indicators of DHS related to child health are vaccination by source of information, vaccinations by background characteristics, prevalence and treatment of acute respiratory infection of fever, diarrhea prevalence, hand washing materials and facilities, disposal of child stools, knowledge of diarrhea care, treatment of diarrhea, feeding practices during diarrhea. Now, let us look into National Family Health Survey (NFHS). An extensive multi-round survey called National Family Health Survey was carried out in a representative sample of Indian households. Since the initial study in 1992-1993, 3 rounds of the survey have been undertaken. The survey offers information on fertility, infant and child mortality, family planning use, maternal and child health, reproductive health, nutrition, and use and quality of health and family planning services for India at the state and national levels. The Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and other organizations have needed important data on health and family welfare for the purpose of policy and program. Additionally, each subsequent round of the NFHS had the aim of providing the information on significant new health and family welfare issues. The International Institute for Population Sciences (IIPS) in Mumbai has been recognized by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare (MOHFW) Government of India as the nodal organization in the charge of coordinating and providing technical guidance for the survey. IIPS worked along with several field organizations to implement the survey. Each field organization was in charge of carrying out survey operation in one or more than one of the NFHS covered states. Applications of National Family Health Survey (NFHS). Number 1. NFHS data can be used to examine the development of the health sector and effectiveness of the present health programs. Number 2. NFHS provides data on employment, health and family welfare. Some key findings of NFHS 2022. Number 1. Child nutrition indicators show a slight improvement at all India level as stunning has declined from 38% to 36%. Number 2. For the first time in India, between 2019-2021, there were 1020 adult women per 1000 men. Number 3. Full immunization drive among children aged 12 to 23 months has been recorded substantial improvement from 62% to 76% at all India level. Now we will discuss Annual Health Survey, AHS. Annual Health Survey were initiated for the purpose of monitoring and evaluating the National Rural Health Mission (NRHM) of the Indian government. The Government of India's NRHM, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, is given jurisdiction over AHS. AHS mandate is to annually report data on key health indicators at district level, including the prevalence of injuries, disabilities, acute and chronic illness, access to family planning services, rates of maternal and infant mortality, and the total fertility rate. 9 states, Bihar, Rajasthan, Assam, Jharkhand, Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh, Orissa, Uttar Pradesh, and Chhattisgarh, and 284 districts total were included in the AHS coverage area. 20,694 sampling units in all were chosen from 284 districts throughout 9 states. In urban areas, these units include census enumeration blocks, whereas in rural regions, they include villages or portions of villages. The RGI staff members determine the sampling units, set borders, restrict the locales, and create a map of the sampling units. AHS contained 14.5 thousand houses, 71,000 people, and 73 sampling units in each district. Outsourcing companies handle the field work and they are advised by the RGI staff. AHS produces district level data once a year. Application of Annual Health Survey, AHS. Number 1. These surveys include information on demographics, population, traits, and health related topics at national and state level and district level. Number 2. These surveys are helpful for strategic planning, policy development, program execution, and evaluation of existing state and federal government programs. Some key findings of AHS. AHS 2012-13 reveals that Madhya Pradesh has the lowest sex ratio with 920 females per 1000 males. Jharkhand has the highest sex ratio of 1036 in the age 0 to 4 group in Chhatra district. There was a considerable improvement of 3.1% in the effective literacy rate in Orissa and Uttar Pradesh from 2010-11 to 2012-13. Indian Human Development Surveys, IHDS. It is a nationally representative multi-topic panel survey of households conducted in 971 urban neighborhoods and 1503 villages throughout India. IHDS-1 ICPSR 22626 consisted of 2 1-hour interviews per household covering topics related to health, education, employment, economic status, marriage, fertility, gender relation, and social capital. Children aged 8 to 11 completed brief reading, writing, and math tests. IHDS-2 ICPSR 36151 data are mostly re-interviews of households interviewed for IHDS-1. Researchers from the University of Maryland and National Council of Applied Economic Research, New Delhi, collaborate on the IHDS research project. In a period of fast transformation, the aim of IHDS is to capture changes in day-to-day lives of Indian households. 4 unique characteristics of IHDS. Number 1. Breadth of topics included: caste and community, consumption and standard of living, energy use, income, agriculture, employment, government subsidies, education, social and cultural capital, household and family structure, marriage, gender relation, fertility, health, village infrastructure. Number 2. Depth of human development indicators. Number 3. A panel component. And number 4. A rich array of contextual measures. Some key findings of IHDS-1 2004-2005. Marriage patterns. According to this report, most spouses first meet on wedding day. Arranged marriage vary widely across India. Renting in versus renting out land. According to this report, renting in land more common in agriculturally backward regions. Rural-urban income. Rural-urban income differences are largest at the bottom level. Rural non-agricultural incomes. Rural higher income households more often have both non-agricultural and agricultural income. Rural households with both non-agricultural and agricultural incomes tend to be in poorer states. Salaries. Public sector salary advantage is largest for least educated. Wage rates. Earning returns to education are greater for secondary school and beyond. Now we will discuss National Register of Citizens. We are all aware that NRC has been the subject of discussion and dispute, particularly in recent years. National Register of Citizens is referred to as NRC. It is yet another crucial resource for demographic information in our nation. It serves as an official record of all Indian citizens and is a registration of all countries' legitimate citizens. It includes demographic data on each and every citizen of India as specified by the Citizenship Act of 1955. It was initially created following India's 1951 census. Through the 2003 revision to the Citizenship Act of 1955, the NRC has been made compulsory for entire country. The NRC was established with the aim of registering all of India's legal residents so that illegal immigrants may be located and repatriated. Rules for NRC upgradation are provided by the Citizenship Act of 1955 and the Citizenship Rules of 2003. According to the regulation, a person's eligibility for inclusion in the revised NRC shall be established using NRC 1951. Since its inception, the NRC has periodically undergone upgrades in several states in India. Due to the ongoing nature of registration process, it was intended to incorporate all relevant information about each and every resident of the territory in question, most significantly their citizenship rights. The register continues to be a crucial source of demographic information in India since it focuses on both a strategic starting point and b established guidelines for its improvement. Now we will discuss Multiple Indicator Cluster Survey (MICS). A standardized instrument for household surveys is the Multiple Indicator Cluster Survey (MICS). Since its launch in 1955, MICS has grown to be world's greatest source of reliable, internationally comparable statistics on women and children. Face-to-face interviews are conducted by trained field worker teams with members of households on a range of themes with a primary focus on issues that have a direct impact on the lives of women and children. MICS is intended to gather estimates of important indicators that are statistically sound and globally comparable. These estimates are then used to evaluate the status of women and children with regard to health, including reproductive health, education, child protection, domestic violence, and water and sanitation. The main objective of MICS are collect social development data on health, nutrition, education, child protection, water and sanitation, human capital, and well-being of children, women, and men. Build capacity of national partners in data collection, compilation, processing, analyzing, and reporting on situation of children, women, and men. Provide decision makers with evidence on the situations of children's and women's rights and other vulnerable groups in the Pacific. Bangladesh MICS 2000 report key findings are: Number 1. The average household size is 4.3 persons. About 35.6% of the population are under the age of 18. The total fertility rate 2.3 and the adolescent birth rate 83 remain the same over the past 5 years. The share of children who were breastfed is very high, 98.5%. However, fewer than half of the children, 46.6%, were breastfed within 1 hour of birth. The share of children aged 36 to 59 months who attended early childhood education is small, 18.9%, which is a slight increase from 13.4% in 2012-13. Now we will discuss Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, CMIE. Center for Monitoring Indian Economy is a privately owned organization. It was founded by late Mr. Pranab Mukherjee and is not a government-owned or a government-operated entity. CMIE is privately held and the ownership and the management of the organization are not publicly disclosed in detail. One of the top independent providers of Business and Economic Research in India is the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, CMI. It is renowned for providing thorough and fast data and analysis on a range of Indian economic topics. CMI offers information, analysis, and insights on a variety of topics, including markets, employment, industry, and India's overall economic environment. Data on employment is one of the CMI's main areas of interest. To measure the employment situation in India, including the unemployment rate, labor force participation, and other relevant metrics, they routinely produce reports and carry out surveys. The comprehensive and regular surveys carried out by CMI provide insightful information about the dynamics of the Indian labor market and general economic trends. Policymakers, researchers, corporations, and analysts use their data and reports extensively to gain insight into India's changing economic landscape and to help them make well-informed decisions. Understanding and managing India's economy requires having access to timely and reliable economic information, particularly regarding employment and industrial developments, which is what CMI's working is vital in providing. Some key findings of CMI on unemployment rate are: in 2023, the unemployment rate is 8.4%. In 2022, the unemployment rate was 7.33%. In 2021, the unemployment rate was 5.98%. In 2020, the unemployment rate was 8%. In 2019, the unemployment rate was 5.27%. Now, let us see the other international sources of population data. Numerous international bodies like the United Nations, the World Bank, and others also conduct population counts. They keep records of population statistics from all around the world and regularly publish demographic data for the entire world as well as for certain countries separately. The UN's demographic yearbook is the most significant of them all. Numerous demographic statistics such as population size, area, density, urban population, population growth, age, sex composition, number of births and birth rate, number of deaths and death rate, etc. are available in records kept by several international organizations. Additionally, the UN also releases a population and vital statistics report every 3 months. These reports include up-to-date data on total population, mid-year population totals, and population estimates for recent reference years. Essential statistics also include other essential events including newborn deaths, mortality rates, and fertility rates. The United Nations Development Programme (UNDP) also provides information on various social, economic, and demographic aspects of several nations and the entire world in its Human Development Report. Dear learners, we have come to the conclusion of today's module, which was focused on population surveys as sources of population data. We have discussed surveys like National Sample Survey, Demographic and Health Survey, National Family Health Survey, Annual Health Survey, Indian Human Development Survey, Multiple Indicator Cluster Survey, and NRC, along with Center for Monitoring Indian Economy. In the module, we have given exposure to different secondary sources of population data. Researchers and academicians can use this data for their purposes. They can use this for analyzing the trends and factors impacting the population of a nation. 3 important implications we should keep in mind while analyzing the data from these surveys are: number 1, definitional issue. Every survey has their own way of defining the factors impacting the population of a nation. There is no uniform definition of factors like employment or labor force participation in all these surveys mentioned above. Number 2, methodological issues. Every survey has their own way of gathering and measuring the data from the population. There are no standard methodological tools or guidelines to gather and analyze the data. Number 3, reference issue. The issue of comparability arises in these surveys. For instance, a farmer during the time of an agricultural survey experienced a profitable yield from his crops. However, in the subsequent year, he and his agricultural endeavors were adversely impacted by flooding event, resulting in significant losses. So here, the issue of comparability and reliability of data will automatically arise. We do hope that you have understood and got the overview of the sources from which we gather various data about population. In the next module, we shall be discussing the trajectory of population growth and changes across the globe and more particularly of India. See you again. Bye.